eyes are closed. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Vavatu Sahana Vavatu. May he or here means may, Lord, or existence, or a God, we can use any word. May God protect both of us. Sahana Bhunaktu Sahana Bhunaktu. May he nourish both of us with a knowledge. Sahaviryam Karvavahi. May both of us make effort for the knowledge to take place. Tejasvinavadhitamastu. Whatever we study together, bring the clarity and conviction. Ma vidvishavahe. Let there be no misunderstanding, jealousy against each other. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In that state of the mind, we may become aware of the space inside the cave of our heart. We see the space. There you drop Om Shanti with understanding Om is the real self, the pure consciousness, and Shanti is the expression. It is like a whiteboard where you write with a black marker Om Shanti. So then I say you to write again, and then you give a little space, and then you write Om Shanti. Now, whether that white space already existed or not, it already existed. Because of the Addison syndrome and the impurities of the mind loses awareness of that pause or the space in the whiteboard, for example, and mind returns with the finer details of the Addison. It says, no, I have said Om Shanti, let me give a pause. Pause is already there. We have to do nothing. What it means? Emptiness is already there. Another way to understand. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand Your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside, bring the hands down. First thing before I begin. Yes, we are talking, speaking, thinking, and acting in a right manner to everyone, and that does not has any change. What changes is the attitude in my mind. I am aware with that awareness, with that clarity of the mind, I see that everyone is a manifestation of the same existence. Then you talk to Prasad, talk to kids, and no problem. But in the beginning, we have to be very much sure. And as we go detail into the chapter 2, it opens in detail where we miss it and why we miss it. So that we will take up in the chapter 3, not 2. So we have been learning and understanding the Gita, 18 chapters you already know. The first 6 chapters deals with the karma, clarity of the nature of the real self. So that helps me to know that here is the real self. I am acting out of the real self or I am not. So we have an extreme clarity about the individual and the false self. The next 6 chapters are from the 7th to the 12th. It gives you a kind of, say, mantra practices. It goes very deep. Why we use the mantra? Why we say Om Namah Shivaya, for example? Why we use the other mantra? It goes very deeper. And it gives us the clarity about the supreme existence. What is the difference between the supreme existence and the real self? The next 6 chapters, it talks only about the knowledge, clarity. Here I have reached to that state. My RSM syndrome has totally been dissolved completely. So we did the first chapter briefly. In the second chapter, we have covered the 3 sections. So in the background of our mind, we should keep it. Clarification about the highest goal of life. Here I want to repeat and mention one thing. First is very difficult to reach and have a conviction in the mind that this is my goal of life. Intellect understands it. So intellect understands, the head understands, but that knowledge does not descend down to the heart. That is the seat of the mind. So it always creates the doubt. And the reason is RSM syndrome. So now see that another point in the first topic, once the mind and the intellect marry together, means the RSM syndrome is gone, one option, and the intellect says that listen to this, mind, this is your goal of life. Other option, mind continues to pamper the intellect continues to create the likes and dislikes. I'm also referring the incident that you just told me before the session. So if it pampers, we go back, intellect rationalizes, I have done it right, but it is not right. We have to check it again and again. Now the third situation, what happens? Now third situation is the finest situation. And what happens in the finest situation? We start realizing that once I have checked and understood that this is my goal of life, intellect says no worries, I'm going to include all the 3 as a means in life. And you are not concerned about your business and a profession. and the pleasure at all. It is very important. That is what we are going to understand. So that was the first topic we covered. The second topic we covered, that how a seeker becomes defensive. That defensive I have already discussed in detail, loses the humility, still acts like, it says, no, I'm humble. What do you mean? Are you humble? Yes, I'm humble. Are you really humble? Yes, I'm humble. Yes, I'm humble. So I have gone. So that needs to be recognized in my daily activities. Then only I become capable of asking the big questions. So we are now on the third topic. What is grief? Are we really worthy of suffering? This verse is so important that some master says this is the basis. This is a promise verse of the entire Gita. Why we study Gita? We want to bring an end to the suffering. Okay, so do we know what is suffering? Okay, I have understood it. Do I know the relationship between the suffering and the RSM syndrome? Yes, I know it. Then the master asks the question, are you really worthy of suffering? Once that is understood and applied and realized in the intellect first, that knowledge should go to the mind, and ultimately it brings forth the action. The life is totally changed. I just want to go brief about the RSM syndrome. Can be summarized in a nutshell when you shared your experiences in the very beginning. Attachment is always in the form of taking. Love is based on giving. Attachment is taking, love is giving. Attachment is conditional, love is acceptance. It is non-conditional. That is what we talk about, the unconditional love. Nature, unconditional love, the air, the plants, and all those flora and the fauna, unconditional love. Can my mind move into that unconditional love? I'm refreshing your memory. Attachment is a weakness of the mind, causes frustration, not happy with oneself, loneliness. But love is just the opposite. It is the strength of the mind. You can say, I hate you, but I say, I love you. And you raise your voice. You say, no, I hate you, but I love you. It is unconditional. I'm not asking anything from you. So that love is built upon the self-fulfillment. And attachment is based on selfishness. Selfishness is one of the characteristics of the RSM syndrome. Intellect is covered when we are attached. You see that now we have understood why RSM syndrome should go. Attachment veils, covers, pressures the free intellect, the free will, the free choice to make. And that violates my karma yoga. That is why I brought this topic, because now my action, my thought, my speech, my action will undergo a change. So attachment is a bondage, love is a freedom. Do I still think, speak and act in that sense of the freedom? Now we go back to our verse number 11. Asocyan anvasocha tvam pragyavada cha bhashase gatasun agatasun chana anusochanti pandita. Simple translation is okay. So normally these verses have to be understood. First we translate into we know the meaning, and what the knowledge is hidden in that meaning has to be rightly and properly understood. So that is why our profession begins. We are no God as a teacher. No, we have to explain you. You cannot understand just by knowing the meaning of it. That is where the master and a disciple tradition, teacher, seeker tradition comes. So simply means you grieve for those you should not grieve. Means you should not suffer for those you should not suffer. So there are many hidden truths behind it. Means what? I am suffering. Why? Because of the RSM syndrome. What it says? I blame the situation, condition, people, relationship, and a long list. So now the master is hammering the mind of a seeker. How? First he said, you grieve for those you should not grieve. Why? That we will answer. But at the same time he says, and you are speaking that you are a wise man? You are a wise guy? How it is possible? When I say to you that you should not suffer, you should not feel pain for those events, situation, people, conditions, they are not worth grieving, they are not worth suffering. That is another way to explain it. Now you see that you see the harmony in the verse. So yet you speak that you are a wise? No, you are a wise fool. So now he explains the wise seeker does not grieve, does not suffer. And then he added two more points. Does not suffer for those who are living. So that also means who are living with me or who are not living with me. I'm personalizing this verse for you. So who are living with me and who are not living with me, it doesn't make any difference. Or, unfortunately, they are no more. They are dead. It's such a deeper statement. That is why many masters have given acceptance of ignorance, helplessness, humility, and all-powerful acceptance is the key. Where is the key of that acceptance? There are many words. I know that I do not know the real self, therefore I am suffering. I have even the unwanted thoughts about the people, situation in the mind. There is another word used as surrender. Surrender is also a recognition. What is recognition? Cognition. What is cognition? It is awareness. But I lose that awareness. In the previous session, this guy was telling me, I lose my awareness. I said, the moment you lose awareness, the RSM syndrome has taken over you. He also has more or less the similar cases, but he has bypassed that case. He has other challenges. So surrender also means anything. Another word that comes, the bhakti, devotion. Devotion. I am devoted to my honey because she gives me or he gives me lot of pleasure. RSM syndrome. I am devoted to the Shiva. You are making yourself free from the RSM syndrome. I am using the word devotion in both the cases. So my attachment to the word in delusion, seeking peace and happiness, is no longer exist, or when they return, I say the intellect, come on, you become active and get out of it, and associated with the karma yoga. So there what happens, many masters have realized when they started, you can say the very first master in this tradition. So he experienced that sense of humility and that attitude of giving nature, and that kind of a recognition that I am feeling a sense of helplessness. So then another point has come. And what is that? I'm helplessness. I'm in the state of help. What should I do? I should seek a help. That is moving the right path. Whom to seek the help? Those who knows. Those who have reached to that state. Who are they? They are the teachers. From there, the teacher and the seeker tradition started. That is what
I
we.
have a question.
Yeah.
Someone who's
Right, you're 100% right. You see that first 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 step in this journey of ignorance, likes and dislikes. The moment you wake up in the morning, the mind by default likes or dislikes, even if there is no thought. Likes and dislikes causes the joy and the sorrow. The joy and the sorrow creates many millions of ripples of hate and the jealousy. Now, all the three stages when we pass, how these likes and dislike works, it works with the false I. What is that false I? False I is ego. So simple to understand. So why I explained you like this in a sequence? I am aware, I wake up in the morning, I look around, and then I mind by default. Now we have to pay attention to this level. I like, but like is not being repeated. I dislike, but the dislike is not being repeated. Why you say so? If the likes and dislikes are being repeated, they are known as attachment and detachment, and from there you already know the journey of RSM. So that RSM builds a false I based on the body, breath, mind, intellect, wrong judgment that includes delusion, and then we suffer. So the master says this seeker, or the author says, this seeker has a spark burning inside his mind. What is that spark? Now I am helpless, let me seek help. So that spark changes the entire direction of the journey of life. Don't you see that? So I recognize that where that moment when we met first and we continued for 1 or 2 years perhaps, and then I recognized, I said, no, give this guy a lot of practices. Let him enjoy. So let him settle into, at least a new impressions will be formed in his mind. Sooner or later he will recognize it. I didn't say you anything. I know, okay, you're doing good, very, very good. Because unless we are aware of the entire journey of the RSM syndrome, we recognize this is what my ego is. I was just talking yesterday to this young guy like you who is in Phoenix. So I asked him that he's a builder. So I loved him. He is still continuing for almost for the last, now it has been 3 years. Very, very focused. He's a builder. So I said, no, why don't you give me some home? He said, I sell my home to the crazy people. How come? My house cost in Paradise Valley from 10 to $11 million. I said, I love you. You realize that craziness should not enter into your life. No, I live in a humble home. I have no problem. And then he went back and he said, last 2 years of those teaching has made my mind 100% clear that pleasure and happiness does not live in any situation, anything outside. And I was so happy. So that is also a kind of helplessness, a recognition and a realization. So that recognition and realization comes in a different ways. And that is where the master makes it clear. So human, now see that when we, now let us return from that deviation, when you asked the question and I answered. So now the master made it very clear. Now I am in the state of helplessness. Who recognizes the state of helplessness? The free intellect. Who possesses the free intellect? The human being. So it means only the human being out of all the living species can discover real self, no one else. So they do not have the real self, they have it. Unless these living species takes a new birth in the form of a human race, then only they can or they cannot. Another point. We are digging deep inside. Another point. Another point, this master says that we are evolved from 8.4 million species. Human being is evolved out of 8.4 million species. What is the message? That's so beautiful. If it hits your mind and head 24 by 7 for a couple of days, you will say, what the heck I'm doing? What is that? All the living species. You take tiger. Tiger does sex 100 times on a single day. So I have that experience in my mind. It is suppressed. It is living at the unconscious level. Give me any example. Hopping, frog, I have those impressions. Flying, I have those experiences. Why I am saying so? Master is saying, do you want to live in the same experiences being repeated habitually, mechanically, even having a free intellect where you can make a choice to rise above? I have to simply rise above. I have not to control, suppress. I have to sublimate the RSM syndrome. That is the meaning. So lot of people, oh no, I can control. I can control my breath for 5 minutes. Polar bear can control their breath for 6 months. I cannot eat for a week. Frog does not eat for 3 months when they hibernate themselves in the extreme summer. You cannot find any frog in this extreme summer. No. Look at the clarity the master offers. Seeker has undergone. Now see that in that we may cover, but I'm just giving a brief of it. Sometime we have to cover. When you feel the need, we will go and cover before taking another step to the Gita. Why? What I'm saying. So what exactly, if I summarize, the starting from the suffering, RSM syndrome, and then we did the spark, helplessness, then I seek help, then I seek help. Who can seek help? The human race. And then we have a relationship between a seeker and a disciple. Okay, then master says, no, you have to qualify to become a seeker. So you have to go to fourfold practices. What are the fourfold practices? Discernment, dispassion, 6 treasures. And then once we follow these 3, we have an intense desire. Now the mind is not going back to claim that these are the 4 goals in my life. That mind will continue to do everything in the world. But your mind is not going back. This is the only goal of my life. That is all. Finished. So it is because that is being that I am a qualified seeker. So what happens that I am a qualified seeker? I may miss some events in my life, but mostly I live wisely. Now I am connecting to this verse. Those who are wise seekers, they never grieve. For those who are living with them, They can find any situation of likes and dislikes, or those who are already dead. Sometimes people say, I still have a pain. My honey left me 10 years ago. Oh, you are a great guy. You are a great guy. So what happens? Your mind does not go into the past. Past is dead, my friend. Past is dead. You need not to go. So what happens? The true nature of the surrender is felt, experienced, realized, lived. I'm using many words. True nature of the surrender. And that true nature of the surrender makes us the highest level of a seeker. When we are the highest level of a seeker, we only have to listen, learn, contemplate, reflect, and only meditation practice will help us to reach to that. So this is the sequence. Once you listen to it again, I have told you, listening and learning from a teacher is a preparation for the journey. Listening and learning followed by the repeat listening and learning followed by contemplation and reflection, introducing the discernment and dispassion, experiencing the 6 treasures in my mind. I become a seeker, and the seeker never fails in life. So now Krishna. Now we will a little bit talk about the Krishna, and so that the things become clear. Krishna is an embodiment of love, dance, music, yoga, awakening, dharma, knowledge. Everything. No, what is everything? What includes in everything? We are not deviating, but I'm just giving you an information so that we can pick up it perhaps in 7th or 8th chapter. Eastern wisdom have found out that if you are perfect, or if you have a knowledge means you have a right knowledge of 64 arts, you are a perfect. Krishna was perfect in 64 arts, and it is explained even. What does it mean by 64 arts? You are highly evolved. I want to briefly touch upon, because that will also help us. So now you can say now Krishna, you can say first. You can also write down, so that we will take up it will come in the 7th chapter. So that will help you to understand who is Krishna. First thing, there is a supreme consciousness that is all pervading. That is nothing but the real self. First statement. Now when this supreme consciousness plus Maya means delusion, is equal to Ishwar. We use the term Ishwar, formless God. Okay. What about now from the formless God, the sub-manifestation of the formless God is Krishna. Now the Krishna is in human form, so that is why I use the word embodiment of that real self of love, of dance, of music, of truth, of wisdom, of love. That is, Krishna is our teacher now, because we are studying Gita, so he is our teacher. He is the teacher of both of us. Again, coming back from the deviation, no more deviation. So coming back to the 20 verses from 11th to almost 30th verse explains through all the possible ways why we are not worthy of suffering. First, the Krishna attacked in the 11th verse. You are a wise fool. Wisdom never grieves. Whether one is you are living in that situation, or or that situation is gone, whether you are living with that person or you are not living with that person. Oh my God, this is what you are saying. So then the master opens up each verse by verse, each topic by topic, and he explains, no, we are not worthy of suffering. We are not worthy of suffering. That is very important. And because I have to hang on, my mind should hang on something, so we made it very clear. The purpose, goal of life, real self. My mind should even think, must be awakened. What is this awakening? You are suffering from some problem, RSM syndrome, and you say, no, I'm already looking for the path of freedom, moksha, liberation, awakening. And awakening does not contain. I should even have those thoughts in my mind all the time. So if it is not, we are becoming mature. We need to become mature. I should remind myself. The way you remind, no, today, no, I'm sorry, can we reschedule our session? Yes. RSM syndrome, can you reschedule? We forget it. We forget it. And that is the problem. So we listen to the talk for an hour, and then there are moments, tendency of the mind to move to the RSM syndrome is 99% versus 1%. We have to increase this percentage from, we just reverse it. So what happens? We are talking to anyone. In the background, that goal is clear. You are aware of it. We are driving your car on the 202, but you are aware where you have to land up. We are guided by the RSM syndrome. In the background, the memories, the impressions, and those pleasure-seeking ideas are in the background. I'm differentiating between the two levels. Is that happens? Now see what happens, I'm laying again a strong foundation of this verse. Now what happens? You don't invite, I would say, a thought or a feeling about the one main goal of your life. You have not invited. You are living your life. What will happen? RSM syndrome says, no, I have already a lot of thoughts. You need not to worry. So I cannot give a break. Mind is the same. Again, understand. Mind is the same. Now the mind, you are not introducing through your intellect a thought and a feeling about the main goal of life during the day, whether you are doing work, doing your professional life or personal life, but you do not think, you do not feel about the goal of life is freedom, awakening. The mind is already free. Mind has a choice. What choice? It will bring the choice from the RSM syndrome. Why I said so? I said so. Sometimes we have very intense desire for the goal of life, and that intensity, that degree, and that heat of that desire drops down because of the RSM syndrome. So, journey is easy, but still it is not easy. It is very easy, but it is not easy. I know that. If we are
in moments when my mind tries to entertain some notion of
recognize, you ease, all the burdens are gone. You enjoy, you have a bigger smile on the face, and you have an RSM syndrome, you have a big face, what to talk, what not to talk, what to say, what not to say, how to react, and what. You're so spontaneous, come on. And there the karma yoga comes. I'm pointing out, I'm just giving you all the references so that it is very good for you. I have understood your nature of your intellect and the mind, so it becomes easy for me to personalize these sessions. So understood, that is extremely important. That is first thing, that when I wake up and first thing I look around and then I say, oh, everything is a manifestation of the one consciousness. So the RSM syndrome does not have a chance to invite likes and dislikes, joy and the sorrow, hatred and the jealousy, building of the ego, and it drops. I have still to think. So now what happens? I need not to think and I just become aware of it. After all, when you are listening and learning, you are using your intellect. Yes, I'm using mine. Why don't you use the intellect during the day? No, I allow the RSM syndrome to work. After all, this is a dry knowledge. RSM syndrome at least gives me some pleasure, and that pleasure leads to delusion. And that is why I'm worthy of suffering. So our master says, okay, suffer little more, enjoy more pleasures. Ultimately, our goal of life is that, so you are not meant to be a seeker in this life, so you will become a seeker in the next life, no problem. Master goes very easy. Why it goes very easy? This is not my knowledge. It is your stage and level of your evolution. Teacher will open up the knowledge, personalize those practices, but it all depends on you. What is that depends on you? There are two elements. Past impressions, I'm deviated, but I deviated for good reason. First is because of the past impression and the current impressions, the way I lived your life and the way you already explained. I never thought of seeking help from others. That is because of the past impression. But what happened that you became a seeker? You see, we are going very deep. Then, okay, I was not a seeker, full of ego. Now that ego is melting, what happened to me? We say it is the grace of the existence. But how the grace of the existence? Because you started listening and learning. Because you committed yourself. What? So it is not my decision. No. If it is your decision, you should have taken a decision when you were suffering from ego. Look at, we go to the extreme logic, and then we leave the logic, we are full of love. that is what that is I'm just giving a taste of the real journey of the self-discovery. So we don't leave any doubt. So I have resolved your doubt. I deviated, but I resolved your doubt. You may not have the question, but I raised the same question. So that is how the teaching continues. I had an ego, big ego. I never thought of seeking a help. Can you ask yourself why you were not ready to seek a help in the presence of immense wealth, all kinds of pleasures? They are, but nothing outside can give us the pleasures. It created an RSM syndrome. RSM syndrome created an ego, and ego says, no, okay, I'll pay you, teach me. That was the cause. So the heart was not open. So I knew that. I said, okay, no worries. This doctor in Phoenix, and she said, why you are teaching from the text? I said, why you are teaching your students from the medical books? At least, I will remain free from my so-called ego. I will refer you back and back again. Every teacher followed this tradition. You cannot do this. And she left me after learning for 3 years. So I know that. I have no problem. So did I suffer? No. Why should I suffer? I don't say...
Because you didn't put your own spin on it? She didn't like that?
No. I was referring the text. I said I cannot do without referring the text. So how it is possible? Any knowledge that one human being passes to the other must have a reference.
American way, because I used to have
Yes, it is an American way. And she said, okay, I said, very good. So you're always teaching from the text. Oh, so you are teaching out of the nowhere, out of the nothing you are teaching. No, I didn't say that. I'm just telling you. Well, I never offend anyone. I have no reason to offend. So I didn't say that. I'm just telling you that my mind said, what the heck, why should I say that? But now I'm just expressing to understand that point. Understand this. So then now with that strong background, are you suffering? Whom I have seen cheerful and the happy. Now the Krishna says to his student, seeker and the friend that I have always seen you. Now you see your perspective comes. Krishna meant this, that I have always seen you happy, cheerful. How come? You have earned so much of wealth. One meaning of the seeker, whose name is Arjuna, means the immense wealth. He is you can say the filthy rich. Wherever he went, he earned money. So Krishna is now saying, I have always seen you, cheerful. I have always seen you that you won all the wars. You fought all the competitors in your profession. And now I see you are grieving. I have always seen you in that state. He is pointing out, that state was in ignorance. Now we are moving to the wisdom. This Krishna is so intelligent and so clever. Or I would say the way the author has put it. The way the author. So what happens when we open up this verse and we understand, we say, what this? Oh, am I becoming naked before the Krishna? Yes, we have to become naked. That is the state of the helplessness, so that we can seek the help. So you are suffering, yes. So Krishna says to the seeker, oh, you are suffering, I know. And then he says, you have been wise throughout your life. But I understand, Krishna takes on himself. I understand the wise people should not grieve. So he is hitting at his ego. No egoistic person says, I'm not wise. No egoistic person says, I'm not wise. That is why I give an example of Bill Gates. No doubt he is the wisest, one of the wisest in computer. But at the same time, he became the wise fool because I lived loveless life for 27 years. You have destroyed everything of your wisdom. That is what the Krishna is pointing here. I have seen you. You have always been wise, and wise. You have been cheerful. So the wise should not grieve. Are you wasting your time and effort in the thought, speech, and action which is coming to your mind? Do you have a time to examine those thoughts? Krishna is challenging all of us. We all are seekers before the Krishna. I told you, Krishna is an embodiment of all the 64 arts. It means he is the highest personification of the God. So we are directly learning from him. So he is challenging the seeker indirectly. He has never said that you are a fool, but he says, are you really wise? You are doing this? Obviously, it means that you are a wise fool. So he is not hitting directly to the ego, but he is pointing so that the seeker can explore. Okay, master has
how come because he rarely mentioned, but didn't he write the story?
No, because we are not ready. We are not a seeker. We are constantly engaged and involved with our ego of the sense pleasure, and we feel that this is what the life is. Eat, drink, and be merry is the life. You already discussed about the American mind. That sense of the American mind, or that is the American mind everywhere. 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 And that is why, so what it demands, the Eastern wisdom demands that you sit beside, near the teacher, you listen and learn in the state of the helplessness. That makes you a seeker, so you know what is right and good. And then the journey starts. But again, that journey starts when you become the seeker. How do you know that you are the highest level of seeker? Now the mind is not going to leave that goal of life. You do whatever you want to do. You may fall because of the IRSM syndrome once, twice, 5 times, but your mind again returns. Mind, you know that wisdom, you lived into that state even for an hour, you were not suffering, you were not grieving, so mind returns to it again and again. I'm not deviating because that's another issue Krishna talks about, that how a seeker who continues the journey for years together fall again into the unconsciousness. It's a very specific term. I'm using yoga bhrasht. Yoga bhrasht means that infidelity in yoga. So let me use that term. So he says that how yoga infidelity. he uses such a term, that I did not understand. I said this guy is crazy. When I understood, I said he is the real teacher. So in some other chapter he uses that. He uses that in the third, perhaps in the third chapter of the Karma Yoga. He makes you, he convinces you this is what you are. You are a hypocrite. And that is why you are suffering. So acting like a wise and grieving at the same time does not help you. So with that ego, we always act like a wise. I know. Are you suffering? Yes. I know why I'm suffering. What do you have to do with my suffering? So I'm acting like a wise and suffering at the same time does not help. Master is saying you are speaking like a wise person. Using words of the wise people do not help. Can you see the wise statement? And can you see the foolishness in that statement? I lived loveless life for 27 years. It can work both ways. Luckily, I heard his interview. That's why I'm repeating, I give that example. I have to use a modern day example to make people understand.
Well, like you said, very rarely does someone...
So it hammers the mind. So what exactly is the conclusion? I have yet to complete the 11th verse in a different perspective. So once we dig deep inside, we are 100% clear. So what exactly is the conclusion? The world is constantly changing. Now we see the other side of it. Wise sees. Now the world is constantly changing. Who sees? Wise. What is changing is false. Who sees? Wise. The what is changing, I know what is changing, the world is changing, but I want the world should stop where I seek the pleasure. That is meaning the wise fool. I am just giving you another way to understand it. My honey, you loved so much 10 years ago. Now I don't see that love. Did you not change? Yes, I changed, but you should not change because you are my honey. Okay. Yeah, wise fool. Word does not contain suffering. Now see the wise fool and difference between the wise fool and between the fool. I always have a lot of laugh while doing this and remembering this. Word does not contain suffering. How do you say that? Did you fight with your honey? Yes. Why you fought with your honey? I realized that now she's or he is not giving me that kind of happiness which she was giving me. Oh, so when you were with the honey for the first time, you really realize she is an epitome of happiness. And now you are realizing she is an epitome of sorrow and the suffering. How these two are possible in one person? You are a wise fool. You are not a wise guy. Now you go on give at least this week you give minimum 50 examples in the events in the situations you have to retrieve. Why you retrieve? Because you are killing the RSM syndrome. That is what the Buddha simply said in one verse, one phrase. The world outside is suffering.